Welcome to my live broadcast today, the 30th day of June 2020. Very soon we are going to enter July of 2020, and this is going to be a historic night. This is going to be a historic night. Do you know why I said so? Do you know why I said this is going to be a historic night? This is going to be a night when the lockdown will be lifted at exactly, the interstate lockdown will be lifted at exactly 12 midnight. 12 midnight. So this is going to be a historic night in Nigeria. The night where, when the border and the gate of hell will be open. I know a lot of you will think, why do I have to use a gate of hell will open? The gate of hell will be opened this night. You don't need to believe me. You don't need to agree with me. But believe me, as I'm talking to you now, the gate of hell will be opened this night in Nigeria. But guess what? God will protect those of you who have always believed that your freedom is your first priority in Nigeria. Those of you who have realized that it is time to put your support, it is time to support those who are agitating for freedom, will always be protected. You see, what is about to happen, I just pray that it is not late. I pray that the time is not late for those who are still waiting in 2023. For those of you waiting for 2023 to come, so that this government, so that these terrorists will come and go. You are going to wait till that kingdom come. This government, this terrorist government will never come and go. Will never come and go. I want to bring to you this evening the background of what we're about to discuss. You see, when we talk about the problem of Nigeria, when we talk about that in Nigeria will never work again, when we talk about the role the British played in this fraud called Nigeria, on daily basis, new revelation, new confession, revelation, and what have you. If your Facebook block you, or if this picture, this video, the image begin to have freeze, if it begin to freeze, just what you have to do is just close your Facebook and come back again. Because what I'm about to do, they may attack this page this evening. We are here for just like 1 hour, and we will take some calls if we have the time. Now, if they log you out, remember to come back, because what we are about to do, it is most likely that they are going to attack the page. They are going to attack the page. You are watching me from Facebook, from YouTube, And this is a live broadcast, live and direct, for creating awareness for Biafra freedom, for creating awareness for Nigeria disintegration. Nigeria disintegration is imminent. It is imminent because Nigeria itself is a fraud. Nigeria itself is a fraud. From the beginning of Nigeria, the foundation of fraud were laid. Today, I read a lot of news about people engaging in fraud, both internationally, the internet scam, and what have you. That is as a result of a failed nation. That is as a result of a failed nation. When your nation is failed, the only thing that will come out of the nation will always be a failure. Failure in governance, failure in youth, failure in the leaders of tomorrow. And that is the reason why you see fraud Nigerians everywhere. In the United States, FBI are parading them, and 90 out of 100 arrests for internet fraud will always be given to Nigeria, because Nigeria is a failed nation. And when a nation is a failed nation, it reflects in the statistics of crime. It reflects in the crime, both in terrorism, both in criminal acts, all over the world. Nigeria is represented in international community with the highest rate of crime. And this is as a result of a failed nation. Now, I want to tell you one thing. The fraud you see Nigerians committing today, the internet fraud you see Nigeria committing today, were instituted by the British. The internet fraud you see them committing today were instituted in Nigeria, in the system, by the British, then British. Because I believe as we have new blood of Biafrans today, we also have new blood of the British. The example of a new blood of British is Boris Johnson. Boris Johnson have come out publicly to support and protect Christians that has been subjected to all manner of inhuman treatment around the world, Nigeria inclusive. The killings of Nigeria, the persecution of Christians around the world, Nigeria is topping the list, and Boris Johnson is sympathizing with the Christian faith all over the world. And we hope that Boris Johnson-led administration will be part of solving the fraud that the British brought to Nigeria when they came as colony. When they were colonizing Nigeria, they brought fraud. And that fraud is what is reflecting today in those who see themselves as a Nigerian. those who Nigeria blood is running in them, they are synonymous to fraud. From the government officials to those in the streets, once you are a Nigerian, fraud runs in your blood. From governor to local government chairman to councillor, serving in Nigeria are all fraudulent. From the presidency down to the lowest person in Nigeria are all fraudsters. And when you see their counterparts making the wave in the United States, FBI list, CIA, what have you, you think that they are just the ones in the internet. The biggest fraud is happening right in the government of Nigeria. I want to show you one thing. Because when I talk, I'm going to give you evidences. It is not just saying and talking. Nigeria, I want to show you why you have fraud. Why Nigerians are, why you hear every day, you hear a Nigerian fraud. You hear this email scam fraud. Everywhere, every day you hear them is because it was planted by the British in Nigeria. The foundation of Nigeria were laid on fraud. Now, that is not to say that you know, there are still people who are not Nigerians, who are Biafrans, and when you look at it today, believe me, this is a very hard topic. Very sensitive topic. Very sensitive. I have come across a comment or some comments of some of my Yoruba brothers from the post I made of the 11 people arrested by FBI. And when I said, check the name, it will not trend. This is a hard truth. This is a sensitive issue that must be attacked, that must be checkmated, and we must talk about it. In Nigeria today, they have painted Igbos, the Igbo-speaking part of Biafra. They have painted Igbos with all sorts of names. They have painted that Igbos want to dominate, that Igbos want to grab your land, that you must not allow any Igbo person, because when you give them chance, they are going to be headmen and hitman of a camp. Ahmedou Bello started the campaign against Igbos. Ahmedou Bello said they hate Igbos because if you give any Igbo man a chance in a camp, he will want to run over, take over the camp and become the hitman of the camp. And since all this while, it has been Igbo, Igbo, Igbo. Igbo will dominate. Igbo will take your camp. Now let us go back to history. The last time I checked, Igbos never conquered any land. Igbos never conquered any land. So why are we being victimized that we take and grab land? Whereas Edo State, Benin today, has been conquered by Yoruba, by Oba from Ile-Ife. Benin Kingdom were not conquered by an Igbo man. Why then will you people continue to peddle these lies against the Igbos just because you see something very extraordinary in Igbo-speaking part of Biafra? Like I said, this is a sensitive issue, but it is a truth. It is something we must face, because if you don't confront it, it will continue to bring us and get us back. Now, you said Igbos are criminals. The crime is in every tribe. But why is it that anytime an Igbo man is arrested, you remember that Igbos are criminals? But whenever another tribe is arrested, you remember that crime doesn't know tribe. Why? Why have you sold these lies, brainwashed people for many years, for decades, and now we are waking up to right the wrong? But each time we want to right the wrong, especially to prove that you have been, making false accusation, you have been calling Igbo's name without any objective. There is no objectivity. But when we come to correct this narrative, that is when you will remember that crime doesn't know tribe. That crime is a crime. But when Igbo man commit crime, you call it that Igbo people are criminals. Why? Today, as I'm speaking to you today, you cannot go anywhere, no matter how well-traveled Igbos are. You can't go to any nation of the world, see where Igbos are speaking their language. A community where the whole country, the community of that country is speaking their language. But our Yorubas, they have their history. The Fulanis, they have their history. We have seen it in the north. We have seen it in Edo State, in Benin Kingdom. They conquered Benin. And as they are conquering Benin, they instigated Biafra War. The Oba of Benin single-handedly instigated Biafra War because after Abori Accord, which were agreed by all parties, Oba of Benin was there. After he came back, he called all the parties, told them that Gowon has done a grave mistake and they must not accept this. Because of the instinct of conquering more. And he succeeded in instigating Biafra War. Today, when Biafra War story or history is told, you barely hear anybody mentioning the former Oba of Benin. The role he played, he was the genitor of the war. But you can't hear his name being mentioned by all these scholars who have read and who have written the history of the Biafra Nigeria war. He hid under the shadow of the history of the war. But he was the one who instigated the war. But today nobody talks about it. Now, every day it has been Igbo criminals, Igbo criminals. Igbos are kidnappers, Igbos are armed robbery. Since 2015, let us check the statistic of those who are committing crime of kidnapping, who are committing crime of armed robbers, who are committing crime of human sacrifice. Believe me, it will shock you. We were told that the Igbos are money rituals. They have brainwashed a lot of people to believe that Igbos use human for sacrifice. Some people believe that some Igbos will use their mother, their father to make money. All these were all lies. Lies upon lies. Today, in Yoruba land, every week, you will hear somebody has been arrested with human head. Check the name, he cannot be anything close to Igbo. So please, remember that why I said this is a very sensitive issue, but must be discussed. You have to pay attention to crime report in Nigeria. Lately, you have to pay attention to crime report in Nigeria. Lately, you found out that Igbos are missing. Igbos all of a sudden are missing in the scene. Do you know why? Do you know why Igbos are missing? Do you know why? The truth is that Igbos have always been missing. But it is because of the exposition, because we are now very active in the internet, in social media, spreading the news as they come. But when we were not active in social media, it is only when Igbo commit crime you hear it everywhere. And it seems as if Igbos are the one committing crime in Nigeria. It seems as if Igbos are the one in championing crime, but the reverse is the case. It has been always like this. So don't think that there is a drop from the Igbo side. There is a drop in crime. No, there could be a drop in crime. But believe me, today, check everybody that have been arrested for kidnapping in Nigeria today. None of them are Igbo. When you go to Biafra land, when you go to Igbo speaking part of Biafra, those abducting people are not Igbos. At least, that is not to say that there are no Igbo kidnappers. But unlike they meant you to believe in those days. You see, every blessed week in Yoruba land, you will see person being arrested with human skull, with human head. And they are not Igbos. So, this whole narrative of Igbos are dominating you, we have not done it. Yorubas did it. They dominated and conquered Benin. That is a history, a fact that is there for everybody to see. Now, the crime rate, statistics of crime today, from January to this end of June in Nigeria, Igbos are missing. In fact, when they are arrested Dume, the highest multi-billionaire kidnapper, it was a breaking news. For you, this is an example. It was a breaking news. Here they say he's a billionaire kidnapper. But when they arrested Wadume, that Wadume, nobody hear about him. The military man that is helping the Wadume, nobody hear about them because they are not Igbos. When somebody called Invetus was charged and indicted in the United States for internet fraud, it was all over everywhere in the news media that Igbo people, this is what gives them money. But now, all this, in fact, since last 2 weeks, it has been Nigeria's busted, internet fraudsters busted, Nigerians arrested, FBI arrested, in Dubai, in everywhere, charging them. And you can't hear any name of Igbo because that is not to say they are not involved in crime. But a lot of people are still parading those that were declared wanted. So why am I saying this evening? Because when I made a post of 11 fraudsters being charged by FBI, and they were all Yorubas. Some people say, why do you make this kind of post? Because you are looking for Yoruba. How can Yoruba support you? This is not about support. It is about trashing the thing that have divided us for many years. It is about addressing the thing that have divided us for many years. I made the post, and I know the names there are Yoruba names. Because the Igbo is your problem, the Igbo is your problem, the Igbo are criminals, the Igbo are this, have been what they have used to divide us for many decades now. And that issue must be revisited and addressed. So I am challenging everyone, the Yoruba intellectuals. It is time you have to do work in your land. Do work, a very, very serious work, orientation in your land. Because you have brainwashed your people to believe that Igbos are bad. And it will never so. In Yoruba land, you have a place called Oluwole in Lagos, a well popular known place for fraud and forgery. That kind of thing, that place is not being operated by the Igbos. Oluwole in Lagos Island is not operated and can never and don't have any Igbo operating any fraudulent activity in Oluwole. It is all run and operated by Yorubas. And it is a well-known place in Lagos. Now tell me, is there any place in Biafra land that you will go today and the place is a place where you do forgery? And they call it like Abba made. You call it, and they tell you that Abba made are fake. How did Abba made become fake? If Abba made is a substandard product compared to what you import from China, from Europe, that is not to say it's fake. It is not fake. It is to the standard of the country that where the product is being manufactured. But today, when you talk about Abba product, they will be laughing at you, it's fake. They will say Abba is fake. They do fake drug, they do fake this and fake that. Who told you that something you manufacture in your own country is fake? Who told you what is original and what is fake? You see a shoe manufactured in Biafra land, in Abba, you say it's a fake shoe. Who made you the judge over what become original and what become fake shoe? But because of this problem, if you see something made in Abba, you say it's Igbo made, is fake. Who tell you that Igbo made is fake? Who gave you that right to call Igbo made a fake? Because it is not up to the standard of the China or Chinese. Because it's not up to the standard of Germany, of the one manufactured in Germany. Does that make it fake? The answer is no. The answer is no. But at the same time, you are promoting the evil against and hatred against Igbos by calling Igbo product fake. You have a well-known place in Lagos called Oluwale, where Buhari and Abba Kaire and Tako Mohammed went to get affidavit. And it is a place for fraud. A place for fraud. So, this issue is issue that we must visit. We must revisit it. Because we can't just, after over 60 years of all this blasphemy and all these lies against the Igbos, and now we are coming back and you just allow us to forget it. Let us leave it because we don't want to offend you, because we want to work with you. We cannot work with you, Yorubas, if we do not discuss what is inside our heart, and that is breaking our heart. Otherwise, we'll be having grudges against you. So it is a very bitter truth. Like I said, a very sensitive issue that must be openly discussed, because you people have done so bad to us. And we cannot just all of a sudden, okay, let us start working without you knowing exactly what we have in our mind. Because believe me, what I am speaking now is in average Igbo man mind. And that is why sometimes some people will say, Yorubas, I have said, don't generalize, don't insult Yoruba and all that. But when it comes to this kind of things, we must discuss it. we must be able to talk and say it the way it is, because that is the only way to heal the wound. And do you know why Nigeria is in darkness and backward? When Nigeria is in darkness, why Nigeria is in darkness and backward is because they lack everything in Nigeria. They lack everything in Nigeria. Everything. From professionals to whatever. Everything is being lacked in Nigeria. Do you know, as I'm talking this thing now, a lot of people are already feeling offended. A lot of Yorubas who likes me. Some of them who likes me, who are not objective in their mind. They will be saying, this man wants to destroy everything he has been doing. Listen, let me tell you. I want to give you example why the Western world is different. The Western world is different because they confront their problem. When they have problem, they confront their problem. Do you know how they confront their problem? They confront their problem by acknowledging that they have problem. Now, when you have, let us say you have a psychological issue. If you have a psychological, like in Nigeria, when somebody begin to see Mami Water, they will say, oh, you are possessed by Mami Water spirit. You are possessed by whatever. But in Europe here, if you begin to see Mami Water, you are mentally sick. They have to refer you to some psychologist or something to help you. Nobody believe anything like that. If you begin to see spirit, automatically they say you are psychological. You have a psychological issue. That you have a mental issue. And you know what they do? They will send you to go and start visiting professionals, psychologists, psychiatrists, and what have you. What do you do when you go there? What do you do? Let me tell you one story. Well, let me use this metaphor for example. If you are traumatized by an incident that happened in your family, in the Western world, I'm talking about Europe now, for example, and you are traumatized by a lot of life experience, do you know what happens to you? You will go to a psychologist, try to get your mental state balanced. How do you do that? You will go and begin to talk about that trauma that you have. You have to speak it from the bottom of your heart to the expert that you are meeting. You have to tell your problem to the expert. Without telling that your problem, believe me, you can never get solution. And the idea is, as you are telling the problem, you are already solving it. As you are telling your mental issue, as you are telling the problem that lead to that trauma, you are already, without knowing it, solving the issue. Sometimes after telling this thing, they give you prescription to go and take. Sometimes you don't need to take prescription. They will, after meeting with that person, the person will advise you, okay, now you are getting better. You have to think like this. You have to think like that. Don't think like this. Don't think like that. This is what is affecting you. You need to begin to think positively and all that, because you were able to tell the thing that traumatized you. So if we do not come to discuss this, believe me, everything we are talking about, cooperation, working, is a charade. So we must be able to know that you have done wrong to the Igbos. Igbos also should be able to know that we have done wrong where we have wronged the Yoruba by generalizing that they are betrayers, for example. We must be able to acknowledge that we have done wrong, because we cannot generalize that all Yorubas are betrayers. All Yorubas are not betrayers. So generalizing it, and a lot of majority of Igbos have generalized, that is a fact. So we have to also know how to make up with this kind of a narrative of Yorubas are betrayer, because every majority of Igbo used to believe that Yorubas are betrayer, and we need to change that narrative. If we do not discuss it, it will never lead us anywhere. So the issue of Igbo are criminals should stop. Because today, we are on top of social media. We are on top of the game. We are, because of this Biafra agitation, because of the Biafra agitation, we are now on top of the game in news. We are now on top of the game in spreading factual news as they arrive, and they are trending. We make them trend. So even all the mainstream media in Nigeria are not more. People don't, people listen to our news and more than the mainstream media in Nigeria today. So we are beginning to be on top of the game. And that is the reason why you are seeing the fact that when a Yoruba man is arrested, it is in the internet. When a Hausa man is arrested for fraud, it is in the internet. When a kidnapper from the north is arrested, it is in the internet. And in all this thing that is coming on in the internet, the one that makes the biggest wave is anytime Igbo man is arrested. It is not only we Igbos are also posting the one that Igbos have committed. We are not biased. But the point is that Igbos all of a sudden are missing in this game. So what is going on? What is going on that all of a sudden Igbo speaking part of Biafra are missing in this game? That they have labeled them to be the pioneer and the genitor of fraud and crime in Nigeria. Why are Igbos missing now? Why are Igbos missing in the show? I want to tell you one thing. The only reason Igbos are missing in this show is because Igbos has been missing all along. But they only promote the one that Igbos committed. They only promote that one the more. And because we were not very active in social media then, we don't bring other ones that other tribes are committing. So now, we are bringing everything as they happen. And that is why you have come to see that Igbos are missing in this whole episode and in this whole game of fraud and crime in Nigeria. As I'm talking to you today, I am challenging every scholar in Yoruba land. Go and do your research, gather your data. The crimes that have committed in Nigeria from 2015 to 2020, you'll find out that Igbo make only 2%. Only 2%. The rest are Fulanis and other tribe in Nigeria. I'm not saying it from this is a live broadcast, and information are available in the internet, in social media, everywhere to go and get your data. Statistics, the kidnappers in Nigeria today from 2015, which people are engaging in kidnapping crime, the Fulani have taken over. They are now kidnapping in our own Biafra land. They were kidnapping, it was rampage in Yoruba land. And now they have shifted it to Biafra. And now they are going from house to kidnap people in Biafra land. So if you see kidnapping crime, 10 of a kidnapping crime in Biafra land today, 1 will be committed by, probably 1 or even none, will be committed by an Igbo speaking person. What I'm telling you now is a fact. Is a fact. Now, check all the armed robbery in the highway. Since 2015, all the armed robbery, those who witnessed the armed robbery, every armed robbery incident in the highway today are committed by Fulanis. So where are these Igbo crime and Igbo crime? Where did it come from? For decades. For decades. You sold those lies to people and they believed it. They say Igbos are pushing drugs. Igbos are drug pushers. Yes, some Igbos may be drug pushers. Crimes are in every tribe. But as the last time I checked, since 2015 to 2020, in Saudi Arabia, Nigerians that are being arrested and persecuted and facing charges in Asia country, in Saudi Arabia, they are not Igbos. They are not Igbos. You have three Igbo boys arrested in Indonesia or somewhere, or Malaysia or somewhere. It fly everywhere in the news. It was a breaking news. But we'll have lists of Yorubas, even women, having been arrested with drugs in Saudi Arabia. And it didn't fly, it didn't trend and all that. So what I'm trying to say is that all this your Igbo, this Igbo, that, once again, it has been busted. It has been busted. Because I want you people to gather all the crime, all the arrest and everything that has happened in 2015. Let us check the statistics. How many Igbos were arrested and prosecuted for crime? How many, which of them are kidnapping crime? Which of them are internet fraud crime? Let us check Yorubas. How many people were arrested for internet fraud crime, for sacrifice, using human being to do sacrifice, or being arrested for carrying a human head? Let us check how many Igbo person has been arrested with a human head since 2015. But as I'm talking to you, every week you will see in Yoruba land where 2 persons has been arrested with human head. Every week. I am saying every week. Every week, every blessed week, you see somebody arrested with human head, and they are not Igbos. So where are this crime, all this, that Igbos are money ritual, Igbos are this, where is it coming from? It is time Yorubas do a lot of work to change this narrative, because it is really bad. It is breaking our heart. It is breaking our heart, the Igbos, because you have seen it is not, these are all false. And Fulanis that ask you to do this, you have done it for many decades, and you see there is nothing to show for it. There is nothing to show for it. Fulanis have asked you to do this. You have done it for many decades, and it worked for you, but it can't work anymore. There is a need for a U-turn. There is a need for a turnaround in all these Igbo. I was watching one pastor, one witchcraft pastor from Yoruba land, say Igbos are our problem. Igbos are our problem. That the Igbos are our problem. They sell fake drug. That Igbos are our problem. They sell fake drug. You see. And that man will also brainwash his followers and his church members to hate the Igbos. This must stop. This must stop, because believe me, whether you like it or not, Nigeria is disintegrating, and the Igbos will be your best allies. Biafra will be and is going to be your biggest and your best ally in this world. It is time to stop. It is time to stop. I want this message to go to every Yoruba. I know it is going to upset them, but let them think about what I'm saying. It is going to make most of them angry, but let them think about what I have said, because there is a lot of sense in it. I want them, before you get angry of what I'm saying now, first of all, go and do your research. How many crimes, how many kidnapping cases you have in from 2015 to 2020? Who are those people involved? Check it. Make your calculation. Now, I want you to go and check the people that have been arrested with human parts, human head for sacrifice, both pastor, and I want you to gather all the information from 2015. Check the statistics. Let us see how many Igbos are involved, and you will be shocked. I want you to check all the armed robber, all the highway robbers from 2015, especially those who witness it, and they are still alive to tell who they saw that came to attack them in the highway. Check the statistics and see whether you will see Igbo person there. Let us check. Let us do check and balance. So please, this must stop. And on that note, I am bringing to you why Nigeria is a fraud. I want you to read this. You see, I come across this post Nothing has shocked me in my entire life in public service as the revelation from Nigeria first quarter 2020 fiscal report, financial report, in the medium-term expenditure framework and fiscal strategy from the Federal Ministry of Finance. You see, Federal Ministry of Finance, Budget and National Planning, which shows alarming that whereas Nigeria spent a total sum of 900 billion in debt servicing, the federal government retained revenue for the same period was only 900 billion. Are you people seeing? Now tell me, what is fraud if not this? What is fraud? What is fraud if not this? You see, this means that Nigeria debt to revenue ratio is 999%. Now tell me, is there any other way to describe or define fraud other than this? The Nigeria revenue ratio is now 99%. No one should be deceived. This is a crisis. Debt servicing does not equate to debt repayment. Is this not a fraud? What I'm showing you now is a verifiable fact. You can go and check it. Go and check the Ministry of Finance report, of the quarter of the audit report. Go and check it. It is there. They are using the same amount they are borrowed to service the debt. Now, let us continue. The reality is that Nigeria is paying only the minimum payment to cover our interest charges. The principal remain untouched and is possibly growing. You see, we are at the precipice. If our revenue figure do not go up and go up quickly, Nigeria reached a situation where our revenue cannot even sustain our debt servicing obligation, meaning that we may become insolvent and our creditors may foreclose on us, as has occurred in Sri Lanka and in Maldives. In my opinion, editorial of December 17, 2019, titled "Endless Borrowing Will Lead Nigeria to Endless Sorrowing," I had caused to counsel the federal government to desist from this indiscriminate lending and offer suggestion on way to both increase revenue and reduce expenditure. However, my counsel fell on deaf ears, and now we have come to this. You see? So, but what I want you to what I want you to get from this is this: that Nigeria first quarter 2020 financial report in the medium term expenditure framework and fiscal strategy from the Federal Ministry of Finance, Budget and National Planning, which shows alarming that whereas Nigeria spent a total sum of 900 billion in debt servicing, the federal government retained revenue for the same period was only 900 billion. And Igbo people call it Akwochaka Tiare Anako. You know what that means? For those of you who understand Igbo. Akwochaka Tiare Anako. Now I want you to also listen to where the fraud started. Here is where the fraud started. How the British brought fraud to Nigeria.
Mr. Ira Smith, welcome to the program.
Hello.
And Mrs. Carol Smith, welcome to the program.
Thank you. May I say how delighted we are to be on Passion. We've looked forward to speaking to an African television station for decades. This is something we have looked forward to for such a long time, and we are so happy to be here.
Thank you. Mr. Aaron Smith was a young, bright, and principled Oxford University graduate who was recruited by the Colonial Office and posted to Nigeria. He took his final examination a year ahead of his class. He also married Mrs. Carol Smith, whom he met while they were both at Oxford University. Together they went to Nigeria, where they had their 2 children. Mr. Aaron Smith, you were featured in a program recently by BBC Radio 4,
Yes.
titled Document,
Yes.
and that was hosted by Mr. Mike Thompson.
Yes.
You are alleged that the British government rigged the first and most important election in the history of Nigeria in 1959 in favor of the North.
The British government rigged the election in favor of the North in 1959, and he participated in rigging the election, and he confessed before he died. He confessed. You heard him saying he was looking for African TV channel to confess, because his conscience will never, his soul will never rest in peace if he didn't confess. And this man confessed. And here is the confession. How the British brought fraud to Nigeria. This fraud you see today, APC playing, this rigging of election and all that, British brought it and handed it over to the North.
Correct?
Yes.
How long were you in Nigeria for?
From 1955 to 1960. And we were based in Lagos. I was on the staff of the Department of Labour. I was largely occupied with employment problems, all the employment exchanges, and statistics, and international reports, and was kept pretty busy. I was also stationed in Lagos in charge of the capital and the port. I was the port labour officer as well, and I also devised a port labour scheme and later a social security scheme, which was one of the first in Africa, which guaranteed workers some income after they'd finished work. It was a providence scheme. As I say, it's called the National Providence Scheme, and I was very proud to have put that on the statute book.
I was going to ask you what your role is. You've mentioned 3 important. Is there any particular name given to your office while you were there?
Just labour officer.
I was a labour officer, a senior civil servant.
Okay.
I only intended to stay in Lagos initially for 2 tours of duty. Although, because of this conflict with the elections, there were difficulties. Actually, government wouldn't let me leave the civil service. They were determined that I should stay in the civil service after my 2 tours. And I was offered very considerable incentives, including a knighthood, to stay and work for government. Primarily this was because I had access to state secrets. I learned, and the Governor-General himself confirmed this to me, that the elections were rigged, contrived. The intention was that the North should rule Nigeria.
The intention was that the North should rule Nigeria in 1959. Now watch.
Even in 56, the northern leaders were very proud and were saying, if they couldn't run Nigeria, never mind elections, they might not join Nigeria, they might leave. And we all thought, well, how would they survive? There were no industries, there's not a great deal of agriculture, some groundnuts in the north. This wasn't...
The North told the British that if they do not rule Nigeria, they will leave Nigeria. And this man said the British thought, how would they survive? There were no industry in the North. There were nothing other than agriculture. How would they survive? The same threat the North is giving to Nigeria today, that they must rule. They started it from the beginning with their terror, with their intimidation, and what have you. Harassment of Nigerians. Now they have metamorphosed into something else, that now they can now sponsor terrorists, even hire mercenary from abroad. You listen to the bandits that the police arrested in somewhere in Katsina in their raid. 2 foreigners. We know it is not a breaking news. 2 foreigners were arrested among the bandits in the North.
Very practical at all. And then it was, the Governor General seemed to be thinking that the North couldn't, even if it won an election, rule Nigeria by itself. The South wouldn't stand for that. So there had to be a partner, either the Igbos in the East or the Yoruba in the West, to team up with the North. What he didn't want was for the 2 southern parties, the Igbo and the Yoruba, to team up to form the government, because he believed the North wouldn't tolerate that.
Did you hear that? They don't want the Yorubas and the Igbos to team up to form government because the North wouldn't tolerate that. Did you hear that? They don't want Yorubas and the Igbos to team up to make a good government in Nigeria because the North wouldn't tolerate that. Now, how did they succeed in making sure that Igbos and Yoruba never teamed up? Is by sowing seed of discord among Yorubas and among Igbos, which is what I addressed before coming to this point. Igbos are criminals. Igbos are dominant. Igbos are this. Igbos are that. That is the seed they sowed on Yorubas using their own people, Awolowo, so that Igbos will never team up with Yoruba to form a good government in Nigeria. And Tinubu is being used again, but today they have disappointed him. You see, they continue to use Tinubu so that Yorubas and the Igbos will never form alliance. Because any day we come in unity, that is the end of the impunity in Nigeria.
And talked about leaving the Federation. So as I learned, in a small way at first, but very rapidly I learned about the election fixing, and as I say, this was confirmed to me by the Governor General. He actually said that he wanted me to know the truth because he wanted me to know how much trouble I was in.
You mentioned statistics, you were collecting figures. Is that for labor and unemployed people only, or general?
Primarily, but obviously my interest was in the population
of Nigeria.
Yes, and Awolowo, the Yoruba leader of the action group,
yeah,
and Chief Enaharo, they too, other people were saying, where are all these millions of people in the north? Where are they? We're going up there to campaign. We want to know, And you see all these, thousands of miles of not very developed countryside, and yet the northerners are claiming that their voting registration figures are larger than in the south, larger, far more people up there. Well, actually, if you went through the Igbo land, Enugu and that, you saw lots and lots of people. If you went to Ibadan, Ibadan teeming with millions of people. But we didn't actually see many northerners, and obviously not many northerners at that time came to Lagos. So this did arouse suspicion. Now, the Europeans, not stupid, we are watching what's going on in Nigeria, and we too are beginning to feel there's something not quite right here that maybe the elections are not going to be as straightforward as they're meant to be. Nigeria was being described as the showcase of democracy, and it was expected that the nationalist leaders would win through.
Nigeria was being perceived as the showcase of democracy. That was because of the Igbos, because the democracy we see today started with the Igbos. It has been confirmed. But guess what? The British killed it. The British killed everything that the Igbos had to offer to the project of Nigeria. They killed everything. But believe me, the British people we are going to deal with today, they are not the one that killed Nigeria and made Nigeria what it is today. They are the new generation of British. That is the good news.
True, but actually, when the election results were announced by the Governor-General, before the vote was even in, he didn't count for that, he didn't wait for that. I have to tell you, the British were counting the votes, and the British cannot be trusted. They look after their friends.
You see that? The British were counting the vote, and the British cannot be trusted. They are looking after their friends. Who are their friends? The northern Nigeria. Did you hear him? He was there. In fact, he was the British man he is talking about. He was part of the British man that cannot be trusted, that were counting the vote. Now I want to take your mind back to 2015 of the presidential election. Do you remember that white man that was caught on camera manipulating the election result? Did you remember it? If you do not remember, I will go and dig out the video. The white man that was caught in Nigeria manipulating election or voting material in 2015. Do you people remember when they were videoing and he was manipulating with one Nigerian man, manipulating the result of the election right there in the polling booth? And he was an observer. He was an observer. Now, you see where the problem is. You see why I started by making this analogy and making this, giving the background of what I'm about to do this evening. You see why I started talking about the Igbo, about the Yorubas and the Igbos and the crime and all that. You see why? Because none of those things ever existed. It was a systematic way to bring confusion and disunity between Yorubas and the Igbos, so that we can never ever unite. So when you see me talking about this now, and I was mentioning Yorubas as they are the one committing crime and Igbos never commit, somebody will say, okay, how can we work together if you are saying like this? It means that the agenda, the idea for what they had in 1960 is still working in you. That is why you will listen to this video. If you are watching and supporting what we are doing and supporting Nigeria disintegration as a Yoruba man, and all of a sudden you say, how can we work together if you are saying things like this? It means that that plan is still working in you. That is the plan that is working. That is the plan that is speaking right there. That is the plan that has beclouded your sense of reasoning right there. Because that's exactly what they want you to do. Whenever we talk about it, you say, oh, we cannot work together. You see, that is exactly what they have been planted since 1956. And it was not to you, it was to your forefather or your grandfather. But now, it has been transited or transferred to you. When you hear me talking about Yoruba or telling you fact, what you know that it is fact, because you don't want to hear it. You say, you people are insulting us. We cannot work together. That is why they have done. That is exactly what they have done, and that is what they want you to be doing. So they know any day we come together as a southern Nigeria, that is the end of terrorism, the end of impunity, the end to everything, including this fraud. You see, this internet fraud, because when your government fail, people will go into crime. If you have a functional government, if you have a functional system, nobody will go and start looking for money to entice women. Nobody will go and start looking for money to entice people. Nobody will start going into fraud. Believe me, it is because of the rotten system of somebody packing billions, and you want another person want to do everything to meet up with what other people are doing. That is the system of Nigeria, where you compete for no just reason. You compete against your neighbor. You compete against everybody you know. When somebody bring 500,000, you want to bring 1 million, because it is the system, the society is rotten by the institutionalized corruption in Nigeria that make you want to be rich, you want to be like other person, you go into crime. But when you have a country that is going to be, the foundation is in Christ. The foundation is the fear of God. The foundation is value for life, respect for one another. Believe me, you will not go and start competing with anybody who have money in Dubai, who is showing dollar notes in Instagram, who is showing Lamborghini, who is showing that. You will not have that kind of life if your society is built with the foundation of value for life, fear of God, and respect for one another. You will do your decent work, earn your decent living, and be a good citizen of your country. Like where I am now. Where I am now, nobody go and start flying money. Nobody go and start showing, I want to show my money on social media. Nobody, but in Nigeria, you see them doing, you see Nigerians doing that. You see Nigeria flying money. Flying money, I snap with money, I have it like this. You snap because your society is rotten. The impunity and the foundation is fraud. That is why everything is fake. Everything in Nigeria is fake. But watch.
Loyalty is the big thing for the British. And we were friends with the emirs of the north. We looked on people like Inaharo and Awolowo as rather dangerous people. They might even be communists. That was ridiculous, actually. They couldn't be communists in 1,000 years. But this was the sort of thing that was being said. And we were, Europeans, were getting a bit worried about all this. It wasn't quite the honest, straightforward election that we were hoping for.
Apart from Professor Anderson and Dr. Patrick Wilmot that supported your submission on the rigged election, there were other people who also served in the colonial office in your days. I mean, who were opposed to this submission?
Initially, I was warned of what was going on by my senior officer, a Major Bonker. I didn't know, and I knew that the Governor-General had directed me to take all the office staff of the Ministry of Labour to help Chief Okoti Igbo in politicking in Warri. And this was most irregular. And
it is quite surprising that sometimes people are asking, what is the way out? The way out is disintegration. The way out is disintegration. The easiest and the most simplest way is disintegration of Nigeria. How do you disintegrate Nigeria? Bringing South together. Bringing part of Middle Belt, because the whole Middle Belt can never be, they can never agree. But part of Middle Belt, join the South, come out, that is the end. As simple as that. As simple as that. If the socio-cultural organization in Yoruba land, in Igbo land, the South and the Middle Belt are genuine, they have already formed a platform to bring Nigeria down. How do you do that? Bring in the Afenifere is there. They have jointly filed a lawsuit against the federal government. Why would they file a lawsuit against the federal government? Why can't they now begin to organize their men, their boys, their youths for a massive revolution? The revolution will be targeted at bringing down the constitution of Nigeria. because Nigeria has failed. If you are today from Nigeria and you think Nigeria have not failed, believe me, you are not a human being. Nigeria have failed. And what do you do to a failed country? You revolt against it. Now, the solution is very simple. These 4 socio-cultural organizations that have filed lawsuits against the government is example. Come together, arrange all your youth. The Ohanes and Igbo should go and make peace with IPOB and other Biafra agitators. Make peace that they have repented. They are now a born again. That they have done mistake and the mistake of the past should be forgiven. Embrace Biafra. Tell IPOB that you are sorry. Because when a father whip his son with the right hand, he will use the left hand to draw him back. Go to IPOB, tell them that you have sinned against God. You have sinned against the Holy Spirit. It is time to forgive and forget. Let us save our future. Let us save our generation to come. That is the end. Apology will be accepted. Yorubas, Afenifere, they are in good term with OPC. They are in good term with all Yoruba, whatever, Amotekon, and what have you. At least we have not heard of any problem with them because they have not agitated to know the differences. So, Afenifere will organize their OPC and all the group in Yoruba land. The Pandef will go and begin to bring all the youth in Niger Delta and Riverine area together. The Middle Belt that also were part of the lawsuit will go and begin to organize their youth. And on blowing of one whistle, everywhere will be occupied. Believe me, if that is done, on the day we will come out, you are going to see 15 million people. And soldier will see you and the gun will not work. The military will come out. They will see you with their AK-47. They will not have the guts to shoot it. It happened in North Africa. It happened in Tunisia. It happened in Egypt. Revolution. It happened in South America. Government coming down. That is what it is. It's very easy. This is one. The most easiest way is this. And only when these people understand what I have just explained now. But there are other ways and very easy, which we are following, and one simple way that nobody has ever touched. We are going to touch that way too. It has nothing to do with war. For those who say Simon Ekpa don't want to review how he wants to be part of getting Biafra, I'm not going to reveal it to anybody. At least not in public. But the time will come, we are following it. And it is going to be exactly that. That is going to be. If Biafra did not come by a revolution, if Biafra did not come by Nigeria, we are going to bring it from abroad. We are going to bring Biafra from diaspora.
Refused to do this. Having refused an order, I know what the drill is. You resign. I resign my post. That is the proper thing to do. What they did then was rather devious. They persuaded me to withdraw my resignation, and when I did, they sacked me. It didn't go through, but I thought it was a bit low after I'd resigned and was prepared to leave the country. This was not very nice behaviour. They later withdrew this and said that I had been of some service to the state, and actually commended me for what I had done, and said I could leave Nigeria with splendid testimonials, and we shook hands on this. And this was done with the recognition of the Deputy Governor-General, Sir Ralph Grey. And then I left Nigeria the first time and took up a job as a personnel officer, a very big job, with the Esso refinery. And then government came after me, declared that I was a traitor, and I had betrayed the British people, ought to be imprisoned. And
you hear him? Because of the impunity the British government have used him to commit in Nigeria, he resigned. They rejected the resignation. At the end of the day, they accepted it. He was fired. He went back and get a job in a refinery company, and the British government come after him because they see him as a traitor. They see him for that he has betrayed the government of the British government. They want to imprison him. Listen.
I lost that job, and then they came to me again and said it's all been a big mistake, dreadful mistake. I'm a jolly decent chap, you know, Oxford chap, and they put me on a plane straight back to Nigeria, where I'd make up for the time I'd been away. There was a great deal of good work for me to do, and we fell for this. We shouldn't have gone back, but we did.
Now, if you recall what you said about...
Somebody say, I am teaching the criminals how to come into hip-hop to know. If you don't know Nnamdi Kanu and you don't know hip-hop, you see, I don't know how you can make that kind of comment that I'm teaching them how to come into hip-hop, into IPOB, the Nigeria criminals, how to come into IPOB by coming to apologize. Let them come and apologize. Let them come and apologize. Believe me, you don't know Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. You don't know him. Let them come and apologize and be ready for Biafra. Believe me. Let them come. It will be the biggest step ever. And believe me, Nnamdi Kanu will accept them. He will accept them. Let them come and they say they are sorry for what they have done. And what secret is it that you think they want to come and know from IPOB?
About the role of the Governor General and the attitude of the British government in particular, regarding the fear that Awolowo, Okutiebo, and the lot of them from the south are dangerous. Is there a particular reason? Why the fear from the British government? Is it that they want to release or relinquish Nigeria? They still want to control Nigeria?
They knew that the North would do as they said after independence. If it had any, the North would just, because it was their habit, they liked the British, whereas the nationalists were an unknown factor. Actually, when they took the flag down and hoisted the Nigerian flag, not one of the major nationalist politicians was there.
You see that? When they took the flag, the British flag down, and put Nigeria and hoist Nigeria flag, no other Nigeria, other tribe Nigeria were there. It was only Northern. And how many of you were following me during the May 30, when I made a revolution, when I was talking about the history of where they committed the biggest blunder, where they committed the biggest crime against Nigeria was when they handed over the constitution to Ahmedu Bello, to Tafawa Balewa. Did you people hear it? Now, I did not see this video. I did not see this video then. But look at this man analyzing the same line of thoughts with me. Do you see that? This man said, when they hoist Nigeria flag for the first time, no other tribe, no other big politicians were there. And that is a very significant observation. And when the constitution of Nigeria were being handed over to Nigeria, I observed the same thing. That instead of Awolowo, Azikiwe, and Tafawa Balewa collecting the constitution in unionism, they handed it over to Tafawa Balewa alone, which signifies, already signify, more power to them. Do you understand? And this man is making similar observation.
They weren't even on the platform. This was incredible. These were the people who had sought independence. The people in the North didn't want independence. They didn't want the British to leave. So this was a farce. And for most Europeans who were very close and watching this, we were disgusted. We thought this really had been manipulated, this election. It was unworthy. It was unworthy of the British people, this. This was no honest, straightforward thing that you would expect Britain, the mother of parliaments, to do. This was cheap and low and criminal. And I opposed it.
It is criminal. It is criminal. It is low and cheap. This is the man that the British used. And that is why God is raising men. God is raising men from Biafra to right the wrong. That is why I am here. That is why Mazi Simon Ekpa. That is why Uchemefo, every other Biafra is we're agitating and we are going to right the wrong. Because God knows that the people and the days are coming. And that day, we are here.
I opposed it then and I've opposed it ever since. And I'm telling you the truth. And I was warned, if I told you this state secret, my life could be forfeit.
Aaron, you said the British government wanted the North in alliance with either of the southern region, either with the Yorubas or with the Igbos. But without which they cannot.
They can't do it this
in the country.
The problem was that Awolowo was a highly principled man.
Okay.
You didn't talk to Awolowo about squalid deals and fixing things. Awolowo was not that kind of person. If you read his books, this man was a world statesman. And his young lieutenant, Chief Enaharo, was brilliant, absolutely brilliant. However, they did do a deal with Zik, Dr. Azikiwe,
okay,
from the East. Dr. Azikiwe, there was this big problem in Nigeria. It's the same big problem in America and in Britain. How do you get funds to fight elections? The candidates in Nigeria had no money, but they did have marketing boards, which were a kind of semi-nationalized industry. And they borrowed money from the marketing boards. But there was a suspicion that Dr. Azikiwe, who has formed his own bank, the African Continental Bank, was actually bankrupt. But he was borrowing very large sums of money from the marketing boards and not necessarily repaying the loans. We knew this. We had a great secret service. All the politicians' phones were tapped. All the politicians' mail was opened. Everything that any major politician did in Nigeria, we knew in hours. We watched. We knew all that was going on.
Are you saying, in essence, that Dr. Azikiwe took money?
He was blackmailed by the British to do our bidding. We told Dr. Azikiwe that he could go to...
So, Nnamdi Azikiwe was blackmailed by the government of Britain to do their bidding. Now you see, when you begin to wonder why did Azikiwe, had to make such decisions, some of the decisions he made, like, ordinarily he could not make such decision. Now wonder no more. You see why he made such decision. When you begin to wonder at the kind of this, why did a whole Nnamdi Azikiwe, that is a very smart, a very brilliant man, all of a sudden, made this sort of decision to continue to be for Nigeria, that what we find ourselves. Like I have said, I have heard a lot of Yoruba, they will say, go and blame Zik. It was Zik who said Nigeria must be one. It was Zik who said Nigeria must be one. It was Zik. You see where that Nigeria must be one coming from? You see? He was blackmailed by the British government to make sure to continue to make Nigeria to be one. So when you come across that part, where Nnamdi Azikiwe played the major role to have what we have today as a Nigeria, you don't wonder no more. The secret is here. Why that kind of mistake, very grave mistake was made by Azikiwe is here, being reviewed. Because I have made some videos, I have made a lot of videos where Yoruba will say, you people should go and blame Zik. It was Zik. It was Zik. Instead of confronting the problem we have. It is not about, now you see the reason why Zik did that thing he did. It was not with his senses. It was not with his clean mind. Under duress, being blackmailed by the British government. This is first-class information. Fact. From somebody who was actually the executioner. Or should I say executor? You heard it? So if you are asking question, if this question has been bothering you for many years, why did Zik did what he did? Why did Zik did this thing? The Zik South Africa is a failure. Zik failed the Igbos. Zik failed this. Zik failed that. Where Zik, if all this question has been coming to a lot of Igbos, including our leader Mazi Simon Ekpa have said it severally, that Zik, in fact, he cannot call him Namdi because he didn't do like Namdi. Mazi Simon Ekpa have said it severally. He don't want to address him as Namdi. So for everybody who was wondering why did Zik did what he did, this was the reason. He was blackmailed by the British government. Now let me play it again.
Hours. We watched. We knew all that was going on.
Are you saying, in essence, that Dr. Azikiwe took money?
He was blackmailed by the British to do our bidding. We told Dr. Azikiwe that he could go to prison if an inquiry was carried out into his bank and his financial circumstances. However, we would not want to be vindictive if Dr. Azikiwe was cooperative in helping forward the plans that we had made in the best interests of Nigeria. Dr. Azikiwe has nothing in common with the northern politicians. He loathed the northern politicians. But Dr. Azikiwe went north and did as he was told. And what he was promised was this. The real power, effective power, would be in the hands of the northern emirs. However, it would look great if the president was Dr. Azikiwe and he was given a field marshal's uniform and an admiral's uniform. He asked, please could he have a row of medals?
Now, you see why I said I'm about to tell you how the corruption was institutionalized in Nigeria. The British brought this corruption. Now, you heard the man. He said that Zik was told that he could go to prison if they open an investigation into his financial activities. You see? So the only thing he needed to do was to go to the north and do the bidding of the British government. And that was exactly what he did. That was why a lot of people are surprised today. What made Zik to be so stupid? He was not stupid. He was made an offer he could not reject. And believe me, when I say that the British institutionalized the corruption in Nigeria today, that same tactics is what they are using today. That is the same thing the North is using. That same thing, that same tactics is what they have used to get Amechi from River State. That any day you will go against the presidency, we are going to start investigating your financial activities. Amechi had no choice than to fight against Jonathan. That same tactics they use for every other politician, including Ngige. Any day Ngige rise to say, this government you have failed, though, they are going to open an investigation into his financial activities. That same tactics the British brought to Azikiwe in 1950-something is what they are using against Osinbajo today. Osinbajo spent billions. Osinbajo spent billions in school feeding money. He supervised the spending of billions and upon billions of naira for school feeding. And they used that to tie him. Any day Osinbajo revolt against the impunity of the government, they will start investigation into his financial activities. Have you seen what the British did? Have you seen it? So first of all, they will come and give you money. That is exactly what is happening in Nigeria today. That is why you see, if you are wondering, why is APC not prosecuting other governors? Why would the Attorney General, I want to show you, why would this Attorney General say that you have to presume innocent first? One moment. Why would the Attorney General say you have to presume innocent first in Nigerian Constitution? Because they asked him to, why is he not prosecuting the looters in APC? Why is he not prosecuting the looters in APC? He will not prosecute them because they have not gone against the APC. They have not gone against the government. But any day they go against the government, they are going to open investigation into their financial activities. Have you seen it? That is what the British brought to Nigeria, and the North, to be precise, and they picked it. The North have picked it and they are using it. So today, governor will come. They will give you contract. You see why Senator Abaribe? If Senator Abaribe has ever taken any contract, they would have done the same thing to him. First of all, they will give you contract, make sure they overpay you. And then immediately they overpay you. That is the end. You have sold your right. You have sold the truth. You have sold your integrity, everything. And the day you will go against the government, they will tell you they overpaid you. You have the money you did not earn. And they will begin to look for a way to indict you with it. They did it to Onegan. Onegan went to Dubai. According to the picture, it leaked that he had a meeting with PDP. Whether it is true to or lie, whether it is a Photoshop or not, I don't know. But it happens that they claim that he had a meeting with PDP. And for that reason, they must remove him. So what did they do? They first of all start investigation. They file this and file that, and then they'll say you must resign, you must come back. They have to begin to look for evidence from, they begin to search for evidence. They begin to search into his account everywhere. When everybody is complaining, Jonathan at a point begin to speak out. And what did they do? They begin to write America. They want to check the account of the president. Because if you speak, any day you rise against them, they are going to begin to investigate your account, your financial activities. That is what British taught them from the beginning. And those of you who have money, who are hungry for money and so greedy, you are all tied up. That is why today, people are wondering, why go and meet your politician? Why are they not talking? How will the politicians talk? When immediately they talk, they will begin to investigate the account. As I'm talking to you today, every Biafran, every person, every Igbo politician wants Biafra. In fact, their minds are not in Nigeria anymore. But guess what? Any day they speak, they will go into their account. They did it to Ojo Zokalo. Ojo Zokalo was, boasting how he's supposed to be the president. They say, okay, we are going to go into your case. They open it. Of course, today he's free. But they did it to him. So this is what they are going to do to everybody. And they started it with Zeke. And now you see, Zeke was like Amechi. Zik, so what is happening to Amechi today? Even Amechi was condemning the presidents in audio leak. He denied it, but we know he did it. So it was the same thing Zik went through, is what Amechi is going through now. The same thing Zik went through is the same thing Ngige is going through now. The thing Zik went through, that thing Zik went through, is the same thing Ogbonnayonu is going through now. You see now, the same thing Zik went through is the same thing the governors in the southeast going through. And when they cannot, when you see why they, but what, let the governors understand that they cannot kill all of them at the same time. We will come. We will come. Any day the governors come back to their senses and say, and you know, not their senses, but they are not afraid, and they say they must stand like a week of River State. Any day the governor in the southeast will remember that the people will be behind them. Believe me, that will be the beginning of a new nation. But guess what? They will be too afraid because they don't know the fate. And they have wronged a lot of Biafrans. So they are too afraid, but it is still not late. So what I'm trying to tell you now is that Omahi of Ebonyi State, because his hand is not clean, is going through what Zikiwe went through in 1967, in 1950 something. The governor of Enugu State, Obiano, all of them, they are going through the same thing Zik went through. If you do, we will go and start investigating your account. So, this is what British brought to Nigeria. And it has collapsed Nigeria. It has collapsed Nigeria. Now let us watch.
But they said, well, no, that was a bit difficult, you know, to get the medals. So when the ambassadors started arriving, he was known to be asking people from foreign countries, you know, perhaps they had a medal for his uniform. We thought this was terrible, but it was said that this happened. He was very vain. And for a time, he functioned as first the Governor-General, and then when Nigeria became a republic, as the president. But he had no power. And when he did try to tell the army, he said, I'm the field marshal, the army has got to do with this. They said, hey, you're just a ceremonial figure. You have no power. The Prime Minister, Balewa, gives us our orders. So there was a...
You see how the Sadlan Zik, they told Zik, you can't do anything. You were only ceremonial president. That Tafawa Balewa, the Prime Minister, gives the order. And when you hear people addressing Zik as a ceremonial president, you think it was a ceremonial president. Ceremonial. The person that gave order was Tafawa Balewa. Ceremonial president.
Feeling then that there was going to be trouble. And then it was because the Awolowo and the Action Group had become the official opposition. What we British wondered, how could they win another election without the British counting the votes? There could not be another proper...
Somebody asks, why don't they do it? Why are they not doing it to the northern politician? It's like the person is not following this program. Because if you are following this program, the idea why they cannot do it to northern politicians is because they want the power to remain in the north. They want to continue to rule Nigeria. That is why they cannot do it. Even if they are doing it to those who can rebel against them in the north. But the reason why they don't do it to northern politicians is because everything is about conquering Nigeria. So long as it is anything from the north, they are going to just allow it to be. It is just recently they begin to even indict or prosecute somebody from the north. But the idea of this was to entice those who could rise up from the southern part of Nigeria. They entice them with money and corrupt them. And immediately they corrupt them, you are handicapped. So if, for example, that I'm in Nigeria now, which I am not, I'm a Biafran. If I'm in Nigeria now, and I am into politics in Nigeria, I want to be something in Nigeria, I want to be president in Nigeria, I am doing something very extraordinary, do you know what they do? They come for me. They come for me, not necessarily to kill me, but they want to be enticing me with contract, with dubious contract, so that I will be making money, I'm making billions. As I am doing that, I have already sold the possibility of having a sane society. Because any day, I will come to say, you people are not good, you people have failed, it is time I am going to do the right thing. Just like Ojo Sokalo was telling that he want to be the president, he could do better and all that. The day I will do it, that is the day they will begin to investigate my account. That is the day they will go and bring Theodora Oji's company and how much is in the account. That is why you see Theodora Oji ruling Abia State, and all they could do after many years now, they are publishing company list of the company and how much is in the account. It is the same thing they did to Zikiwe. They will start by investigating your financial activities to make you to succumb. And if immediately they try to shake you with your financial activity, and you are not clean, you succumb. That is why even in Igbo land, those that committed abomination, you can't talk when people are talking in the square. You can't talk. Because shame will not allow you to talk when your king's men are talking. You can't talk. Because if you stand up to talk, they'll tell you, sit down there. You committed abomination, and you cannot talk when people are talking. You will just do like this. So it is the same thing in the Nigeria system. Once you are stained, you can never ever talk. Never. Because any day you do, that will be the beginning of the end. You see why it is good to have integrity. You see why it is good to be upright. You see why it is good that whatever you do, keep your hand clean. You see why?
Run election without us there. We knew what we were doing. We were just helping things along. We were doing what the British do, favouring our friends and looking after our own and repaying favours. We don't call that corruption.
Right. I mean, in essence, what Dr. Azikiwe did, he was forced by the British government to do it.
Yeah.
Collecting money from the marketing board then.
Yeah.
So if any politician here in the United Kingdom tried to do that,
he'd be in jail.
He would be in jail. So why did the British government refuse to take action?
Because,
or comment on
if we nipped it in the bud, because we knew it was happening, it was even happening in, let me be fair, in the West, with the Wallowo. They were taking some money. They meant to repay it perhaps, but they were taking money. And I would have said, issue a warning now and say, you've got to behave, because if this is allowed to go on, it'll be a major offence. However, before they actually ran the 1959 election, they needed money for the North and for the NCNC, Dr. Zick, to fight the election. So what they did, my senior officer, Major Bonker, went around, was ordered by the Governor-General to go to all the major British firms and international firms, Ford, UAC, Leventis, all these firms, and raise money for a slush fund to enable Chief Okota Igbo, together with the North, to fight the 1959 elections. The North got most of their money from the native authorities. This was looked on by the British as being okay. This wasn't corrupt because we were friends of the North. And if they tried this in the West or in the East, we might have said this was corruption. But because it happened in the North, the native authorities, public money, was poured into the government party, the NPU. So this obviously was a terrible fiddle. We were discriminating against the southern politicians in favour of these northern emirs. What we saw was that this would not be the first act of treachery. They would have to smash the Action Group, because the Action Group was strong, and in a fresh election, they would be sure to win. They were pretty honest and regular guys, and a lot of the British quite admired Awolowo for his brain power, and they admired Chief Inahro, who was a bit cheeky and young and spirited, and they were both quite admired, as they was like right-wing Labour people, nothing revolutionary. And so a great deal of money was raised by my senior officer, Major Bunker, before the 1959 election. And this was money put up by United Africa, by Ford, Shell, BP, and my wife, who was the personal assistant to the general manager of BP Nigeria. She's not going to tell you anything because she was a confidential secretary. I can only tell you that we were very well informed on some of the hanky-panky that was going on in Lagos.
Having revealed now that the election of 1959 was rigged, the census figure were cooked, I don't know if you have been following.
You hear that? The census figure were cooked. The same census figure were cooked, they were cooked, and today they tell you that North is higher in number. Another lie. You see where this whole Northern census started from? They tell you cannot enter their house. You have to count the leg, count cow, count donkey, and everything. And they come to tell you the population in the North is higher. It is a lie. It is a fat lie. It was an idea given to them by the Brits. And today, again, it has been... We know this all along. But at least it is coming confirmed from a man who was actually involved in doing it. You see, the census in the North was cooked since 1950-something. They continue to cook the census in the North. Number of people manipulated.
The ongoing in Nigeria today.
Yes, of course.
The last general election,
yes.
The 1979-1980 election, in which Azekwe was the beautiful bride, and
But I have to tell you, sir, that I'm not going to comment.
Okay.
I cannot interfere in Nigeria's domestic politics. I'm a historic figure. I do keep up, naturally, because I love Nigeria, and I've kept up with its history of its assassinations and military coups and dictatorships for 50 years. And this has been one of the biggest tragedies in world history, because this potentially was one of the greatest nations on earth. Nigeria was packed with educated, decent people who wanted to serve their country.
Since you lost that job that the government threatened or went behind you to say that you were disloyal to them and you were fired, have you ever worked any other place since?
Have I?
Have you worked in any other company
Yes.
since?
I didn't go to Oxford in the usual way. I came from a very poor family and left school when I was 13 years old. And I served a factory apprenticeship as an engineer, which is very unusual for an Oxford undergraduate. At Oxford also, I trained as a social worker. I'm a fully qualified social worker. So although, and as a personnel officer too, although the government stopped me working when I returned to this country and I was quite ill, I did a lot of voluntary work from this time on, both in the medical field, in the field of young girls. We also had campaigns on comprehensive schools. So I've kept very busy over the decades, although I have been kept out of employment quite deliberately. And when I did take up work, the government came after me.
Yes, somebody asked, don't I think the British government should be sued for what they did to us? I think so. I think so. And with the imagining evidences, what we have now, I think we will do that. I think we have to sue them. We have to sue them. Not only that, we have to sue them on many things. So I think that is we must do that. We must sue them. At least, you know, you don't sue somebody. We know all this. You don't sue somebody when there is no evidence. The issue of suing them, we have to do that. It is a way of correcting the mistake of the past. You know, we have to sue them to get justice. But the biggest justice we are looking for now is the freedom of Biafra. Freedom of Biafra, it is Biafra freedom. The only solution to all this that I'm just saying today is freedom of Biafra. Biafra will free everything and will solve everything.
And behaved abominably. And they did the most appalling things. They framed me with money missing. When I worked as a humble postman, after I'd worked as a personnel officer, I delivered the post to the workers who I'd employed. And they forced me out of that. They framed me. And later, when I was working in the labour exchange, they used the foulest methods to get me out of work. They told me they would. They said, the Governor-General said, unless you do what I say, you will never work again. And he offered me this, and it's very big bribes. A knighthood, a post in the Far East, in the Foreign Service, and a large sum of money. And this was confirmed later in Whitehall, and we turned it down.
Thank you very much for your time to answer some of the questions we've posed to you. What would be your advice to the Nigerian audience watching us now?
They have potentially one of the greatest nations on earth.
Potentially one of the greatest nations on earth, probably not referring to Fulanis inclusive. No. Biafra will make that best potential or best country on earth. Because with Fulanis, it is not working. With Fulani, it is not working and it will never work. It is not working and it will never work. It will never work.
What they have to do is be disciplined. And they've got to unite together and love each other, be kind to each other. Like they're great to their own families. Nobody has nicer families and children than Nigerians. All Nigerians love their own family. They've got to extend that family to include their neighbours and the other peoples in the Federation.
We really appreciate your coming around, all Nigerians here in...
Now, unfortunately, that is not possible. I want to show you something now. You see, when we are talking about fraud, right? And I told you how they brought fraud into Nigeria. Now, this is another breaking. I want to show you another breaking. One moment. Now, I want you to listen to this. You see? This article says, British auctioneer or British auctioneer sell Igbo statues allegedly stolen during Nigeria's civil war for 85 million naira. Now tell me, what fraud is more than this? I'm just telling you the latest too. What fraud? This is a British selling a statue stolen during Biafra War in an online auction for as whopping as 85.6 million naira. Is that not fraud? Is anybody now, despite the fact, all the controversy behind this status. Now look at them. You see? The British auction company Christie sold 2 life-sized wooden statues with Nigeria root for 85.6 million $238,000 in an online auction on Monday, June 29, yesterday, 2020. You see? Is that not a fraud? Are you telling me now that if it was a Nigeria that went to Britain to stole the status and then go to Nigeria to sell it online, they would not call FBI to arrest him? Where did he get our status to sell for 85 million naira? Is it not a crime? You are selling a status you did not buy. You are selling a status that did not belong to you, and you sell it online. But if it were to be other way around, you will go and bring FBI to go to Nigeria to take him. You will go and take the person who bought it. But guess what? This is an oracle. This is an oracle, and this has power in it. This thing you see is an oracle, and it has power. This has power. Like, believe me, this has power. It has black power, Igbo power in it. It's an oracle stolen from Igbo land. And you will be asking, what are they doing with this? Why would somebody pay 85 million to buy a wooden statue? You know why? Are you asking the question? You don't know what is in this wooden statue that somebody can pay 85.6 million naira to buy, over $200,000. You don't know what it is? It is power. Only them know what they're going to use it to do. Otherwise, what would somebody do with a wooden thing? This thing, that it. Of course, let us even agree that it is antiques, but do you know the power that is in it? They are using it. Now let us read. They said the statue labeled a couple of Igbo figures attributed to the Aqua Master were sold to an online bidder on Monday, despite the controversy surrounding how the company gained possession of them. Despite the controversy, they sold it. And nobody will arrest them because they are British. But if we were to be Okechukwu selling a British artifact in Africa, they will bundle him. If it were to be Olukoya selling British artifact in an online, they will bundle him. But look at, even when they are returning most of the thing back to Nigeria, they stole from us. But now they are selling it publicly and online. So, the British brought this fraud in Nigeria, and today the fraud has come to stay. The only thing that will solve the problem, social vices, internet fraud, the only thing that will solve it is disintegration of Nigeria, because then you will have a better society. So today, support disintegration of Nigeria. Today, support Biafra restoration, Biafra freedom. And it shall be well with you, it shall be well with your family. You can now go back to your country. You can travel home to Biafra land without being afraid of kidnapping, without being afraid of being robbed, without being afraid of being hit by stray bullet, without being afraid of when you fall sick, you are going to die in the hospital. It is only Biafra. A lot of people will go to Nigeria, they never come back. A lot of people will get, as you are, if you are living in diaspora, no matter who you are, if you are living in diaspora, no matter who you are, traveling to Nigeria, you have signed your death warrant. Because coming back is never a guarantee. Coming back is never a guarantee. There is no guarantee that you will go to Nigeria and come back. No guarantee. No guarantee whatsoever. A lot of people go to Nigeria to see their family. That is the end. No guarantee. If you get sick, go to hospital. There is no hospital. Go to if you have an issue, security, no security. You have to bring your own security yourself. Sometimes they will attack you and kill your security men. Sometimes you can be buying something by the roadside and the bullet will hit you. So going to Nigeria, no guarantee. No guarantee of coming back. And the only solution, support Nigeria disintegration. Let us have a better country that we can all be proud of. Let us have a country that we can all go and develop and work for the best interest of that country, and it shall be well with you and your family. God bless you. We will not take call this evening. Remember, Mazi Simon Ekpa's broadcast is tomorrow. Don't miss it. We shall continue to bring this awareness so that you will understand why you must support the disintegration of Nigeria, and you must understand why you need Biafra. Have a lovely evening and good night. May God bless Biafra. See you tomorrow. Bye.